4 years, it's been the same song and dance. Apple gets on stage, holds up the latest iPad, and tells us, this is your next computer. And 4 years, we've bought in. We got the magic keyboards, learned the weird gestures, and tried to make it work. But for most of us, the story always ended the same way, right back on a MacBook, because the iPad, for all its incredible power, just wasn't a computer. It was a powerful engine stuck in first gear, held back by clunky multitasking and a file system that felt like a joke. But what if this is the year they finally figured it out? This is iPadOS 26. And it's not just another little update. It's a total reimagining of what an iPad is supposed to be. It's built on a new design language Apple is calling Liquid Glass, and it promises a multitasking experience that is, at long last, truly flexible. So today, we're not just reviewing an OS. We're putting the iPad through a professional gauntlet to answer that one nagging question. Can you finally for real this time, ditch your laptop? Let's find out. The core problem, a history of compromise. Before we get into all the shiny new features, we have to talk about why this has taken so long. Look, the problem with older iPadOS versions was never about power. The M-series chips inside the iPad Pro have been beastly for generations. The problem has always been a software, an operating system that was born from an iPhone and, for a long time, couldn't shake its phone-like limits. We had split view and slide over, which were clever ideas but ultimately felt rigid and confining. Then came Stage Manager and iPadOS 16. It was a huge step. Don't get me wrong, bringing up stages and much better external display support. But let's be honest, it was quirky. Resizing windows was a pain, placement felt totally arbitrary, and for a lot of people, it was just more trouble than it was worth. It was Apple's first real shot at desktop-style multitasking, and frankly, it felt like we were all just beta testing it. This history created a clear divide. The iPad was amazing for watching movies, for single-app focus, for drawing, and for travel. But the second your workflow required you to juggle a few windows, manage a bunch of files, or, heaven forbid, run a process in the background, you hit a wall. That's the exact wall iPadOS 26 is here to smash. The gauntlet begins a multitasking revolution. Alright, gauntlet challenge number 1, real-world multitasking. My daily grind involves writing a script in one window, referencing research across multiple browser tabs in another, keeping Slack open, and having my file browser ready to grab assets. On an old iPad, this was a special kind of hell. With iPadOS 26, it's night and day. Apple has introduced a true, honest-to-goodness Mac-like windowing system. You can freely resize app windows, overlap them, and toss them wherever you want. The old, rigid rules of Stage Manager, gone. This is all about fluidity. On the newer iPads, you can have a shocking number of apps open and running simultaneously, and managing it all feels instantly familiar. The classic traffic light buttons are here. Red to close, yellow to minimize, and green to go full screen. If you long press that green button, you get quick tiling options, letting you snap to 3, or even 4 apps into a perfect layout. There's also a new expose view. A simple gesture fans out all your open windows, making it ridiculously easy to find what you're looking for. But the real test is the external display support, which used to be a massive disappointment. Now, the windowing system flows right over to a second monitor. I've got my iPad Pro hooked up to an ultra-wide display, and it's not just mirroring. It's a completely separate workspace. I can literally drag a Safari window from my iPad screen over to the monitor and blow it up to full size. For the first time, this feels like a real dual monitor setup, not a cheap party trick. We're just getting started here, and as you can see, these are some of the biggest changes to hit the iPad in a decade. If you're finding this deep dive helpful and want more reviews that skip the marketing fluff and get straight to the point, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. It really does help. Alright, let's talk about the Files app, another thing that was desperate for a fix. The gauntlet continues, fixing file management. If multitasking was the iPad's biggest philosophical flaw, the Files app was its most practical one. 4 years, it felt less like a real file manager and more like a glorified downloads folder. It was clunky, slow, and a constant point of friction. This brings us to gauntlet challenge number 2, managing all the assets for this very video. I have B-roll on an SSD, my script, a thumbnail from my designer, and notes all in different places. With iPadOS 26, the Files app has been supercharged. It's not quite the Max Finder, but it's getting dangerously close. The list view is totally revamped with resizable columns, just like a Mac. I can finally see the file size, kind, and date modified all at once. We also get folder customization. I can now add colors and icons to my folders, which sounds like a tiny thing, but it makes finding what I need in a complex project folder so much faster. But the single biggest game changer for me is being able to drag a folder right into the dock. My YouTube Assets folder now lives in my dock, ready to be opened from any app, at any time. This one feature erases so much of the old frustration. On top of that, Apple has brought the Preview app over from the Mac. Now I have a powerful, dedicated app for viewing and marking up PDFs and images with the Apple Pencil. And finally, you can set default apps. If I want my audio files to open in Ferrite instead of voice memos, I can actually do that now. These aren't just cosmetic tweaks, they fundamentally change how the iPad handles files, making it a legitimate machine for managing real work. The final challenge of Pro app performance and background tasks, so multitasking is fluid, and file management is fixed. But can it handle the heat? For the final challenge, we need to push the hardware with Pro apps and the one thing that has always separated laptops from tablets, background tasks. One of the most infuriating iPad limitations was how it would pose a heavy task, like a video export, the moment you switched apps. iPadOS 26 finally introduces true background tasks. I can kick off a 4K video export in Final Cut Pro, and a live activity just pops up to show me the progress. While that's cooking, I can jump over to Safari, answer emails, or even edit a photo in Lightroom, and the export just keeps chugging along in the background. This is a complete game changer. The ability to fire and forget a render is a core part of a computer workflow, and it's finally here. This, combined with the new windowing system, unlocks serious pro workflows. I can have Final Cut open on one side of the screen, my bin of assets on the other, and just drag and drop clips between them seamlessly. The new menu bar, which you can pull down from the top in any app, also makes it way easier to find hidden tools. When you let the M-series chips raw power off the leash with an OS that can finally keep up, the iPad no longer feels like a compromised creative tool. It feels like the real deal. The verdict: can you ditch your laptop? So, after all that, what's the verdict? Can the iPad finally replace your laptop? For the first time in a decade of asking this question, my answer is a confident yes. For most people, Apple has actually done it. The flexible new windowing system, the Mac-like controls, the vastly improved Files app, and true background processing have addressed nearly every major complaint that held the iPad back. It's no longer a tablet pretending to be a computer. It's a new kind of computer that blends the best of both worlds. Is it perfect? Of course not. Some power users with very specific needs, like coders who live in a particular IT or people who rely on ancient desktop software, might still hit a wall. But for the vast majority of us, for students, writers, artists, photographers, video editors, and professionals, the iPad is no longer a compromise. It's a powerful, flexible, and in many ways, a more modern and enjoyable alternative to a laptop. The hardware has been ready for years. With iPadOS 26, the software has finally caught up. But that's just my take. The real question is, what does this mean for you? Are these the changes you've been waiting for? Let me know down in the comments.